Alchemize your energy. Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. Alchemize your energy, my friend. Let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright, from darkness to light. Not taking no shots, we ain't taking no shorts. We ain't take the wrong end of the stick anymore. We ain't taking no shorts. Man, you know what it is. Taking care of the kids, and we ain't taking no shorts. Man, you know what it is.
All right, welcome guys. Welcome to Alchemizing Energy. Another installment. Please excuse me, my voice. I have a little cold, so every once in a while you might hear me coughing a little bit. But today we have a special guest, and I'm so proud to announce his name is Voice Kid, and I wanted to be happy to bring him to the stage. So welcome to the stage, Voice Kid.
Hello, thank you.
All right, so hold on. So Voice Kid, I've got to know you over some time, and you know, we did the thing about the group homes in the last interview,
Right.
But you know what people don't know, in case, is that you actually are a part of the iHeartRadio family. Your father is a part owner of iHeartRadio, and that you had a pretty long career in radio.
Right.
As a voiceover artist, correct?
Right. As a promo voice.
Promo voice.
Yeah, a lot of people don't get it right. They think, oh, you do characters, or you narrate books, or do you on hold messaging and stuff like that. I'm like the voice of the radio station or the TV station, the like 93.3 FLZ, Tampa Bay's hit music channel. You know, I do it better than that I just did, but it's that's the kind of voice I am, the branding and imaging of a radio station or a TV
you
station.
know what, you always wonder who is that person that does that, like 95.5 FM, you know? So there's like it's crazy. There's a person that just is in the studio like 104.5.
Yeah. Yep.
Everybody go down to the it's happening now, you know.
Yep.
That's
free drinks for the ladies.
Right, free drinks for the ladies with two at the bar. Free to get in after 9.
Right.
Right. So did you ever do like a movie script?
Yeah, actually I did. I got on to do Miramax Films. I got on to do 54, which is not a big movie, wasn't a big blockbuster, but it was a smaller movie that Miramax did, one of their smaller scale movies. It's about probably a $25 million movie, which in movie dollars is not a lot of money, but I got involved with that project, and I met Ryan Phillippe, who played the busboy in the film, and this was a breakout role for him. He got top billing in this movie, and this was really going to be his breakout role. So he was real hands on with the back and doing the movie trailer and the voices. So he wanted to be in when I was doing the movie trailer. So they flew me to LA to do the movie trailer, and I met Ryan Phillippe when I was doing the trailer. He was in the studio. And he goes, you know, I don't know if you're under contract with Miramax, but I got another movie in the can. And in the can means that in movie terms that they've shot it and they're now laying in post-production, which is music and going and redoing any vocals that need to be done, and any post-production adding music or sound effects or whatever. And the movie was Cruel Intentions. Mm-hmm. And he got me on to do Cruel Intentions, and I got a 3-picture deal off that. So I got to do Bad Boys 2, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, and I got to do, of course, that movie with Ryan, Cruel Intentions. So yeah, those are my 3 or 4 big movies. I guess 54 you really wouldn't be considered a big movie, like I said. But I got to do those. And when Bad Boys 2 was being shot in Miami, I actually was there for one of the scenes when it was being shot. Not because I was on the trailer, just because I knew some people that were looking for some talent, some people, and they called the radio station where I worked at, and they were looking for some extras, and they were looking for one of the guys to play one of the lieutenants, or not lieutenants, but one of the police officers, excuse me. And it was the Mexican dude, the tall Mexican dude that kept joking around with Martin Lawrence and Will Smith in the movie. So I kind of saw the movie get shot, right there in Miami, in this old, like, rundown shopping center that they redressed it and made it look, new and everything, like it was, of course, being occupied. It's the
It
scene,
was, it's a fake.
it's the scene where they run because the movie's basically about a drug dealer, of course. It's always about drugs with him, but he was importing ecstasy into the United States, and they were putting them in these bodies because he owned a funeral home, shipping overseas or over to another country or whatever, and he was selling them. So the scene is they ran into this bank that they made up into this old shopping center. They redressed it, made it look new, and that's what the scene is. It's a big, a lot of explosions that I got to see, so it was pretty cool.
Right. So basically, you were really pretty much embedded in like kind of like that Hollywood entertainment world. You
Yes, ma'am.
know, so you got to experience some of the parties and stuff like that. Like in my being from Miami, were you in that whole scene
Uh-huh.
with the I know Versace was really well known back
Yeah, I
then.
was there when he got murdered in '97. I'd been there 3 months, and South Beach was a ghost town. There was a 3 o'clock curfew because they were looking for that killer, Andrew Cunanan, and he'd been on a cross country killing spree. 3 days later, they found him on a houseboat in Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, right outside of Miami. And South Florida, Monica, but
Yeah.
he was on a houseboat and he committed suicide. He had a gunshot to his head. I guess blew his brains out or whatever.
Wow, wow. So
Yeah.
being in that world, they have this whole thing that they call payola in the radio industry. And
Yeah.
me and you, we talked about like a lot of the corruption that was happening in
Uh-huh.
radio at the time. And even your father decided to leave where he was at. Was he with Clear Channel at first and then moved to
No,
iHeartRadio?
it was in the '70s before Clear Channel. And let me explain what Clear Channel is. But basically, iHeart bought Clear Channel. So that's iHeart. When you're going down the road, and they bought all the divisions of Clear Channel. But when you're going down the road and it's called outdoor advertising, you see a billboard, it's outdoor, obviously. Look at the bottom of the screen of the billboard, and you'll see what the company is that owns it. Well, you'll see Clear Channel. Well, iHeart agreed that when they bought Clear Channel, they were going to leave the outdoor part of the company named Clear Channel. So every time you see Clear Channel, that's really iHeart. They just decided to name it that. But back to what you were stating originally, back then my dad left a top 40 radio station and went to across town to the country radio station, and this was back in the '70s, late '70s. And back then you could only own one FM and one AM per market. There was none of this buying Clear Channel clusters, is what they call them, where they'd buy 6 and 7 different formats. You couldn't do that. Well, the Hicks brothers, who started Clear Channel, the first radio station they ever owned, my daddy worked for them, and he made them a lot of money. Back then, you could only go on one FM and one AM per market. So they started Clear Channel. They invented the LMA role, the License Managing Authority role. And what that is that's basically a rule where you can buy as many FMs and AMs as you want per market. And that's when they kind of monopolized on the whole deal and really kind of cornered the whole radio market and became so global as they are now, excuse me.
Wow. So, I thought that iHeartRadio was a satellite station. I did not realize it was so embedded in the radio that's on the like real radio, like FM.
Right. They bought all the entire company of Clear Channel, which Clear Channel was broken into 3 divisions, which was and they had other entities of it, but it was their outdoor, of course, their radio stations, and then their concert productions. And my brother's president of that division. He works a lot with Live Nation, and he does a lot of tours. iHeart does a lot of their own tours and stuff. They work with Live Nation and some of these other touring companies. Live Nation's like the big one. They're the main ones that do the tours. But iHeart does a lot of their own tours and a lot of their own concerts and productions. And
yeah, I remember when Live Nation started doing that, and they came up with the 360 deal. That was something that came out of Clear Channel and Live Nation and stuff like that.
Right.
So, what exactly? The one thing I wanted to talk about is the payola that existed back in the day, and I wanted to see, does payola still exist?
Oh yeah, it does.
Is radio still even a thing anymore? You know?
It is, and traditional radio will always be around, but I think that it's gotten so corporate, and so we're going to pay this person to do five people's jobs, and like I told you the other day when we were talking, you usually have a program director over each radio station, but when I was in the Miami Fort Lauderdale market, my program director was over three stations. He was on Zeta 94.9 Zeta, which was the alternative rock station, and he was over the classic rock station, Big 106, and he was over one of the jazz formats, and he was the program director for all three stations. But of course, his baby is the one that he loved the most was the station I was on, Zeta, the alternative station, kind of like the Edge in Dallas.
It was interesting because I used to work with the Shane Park Amphitheater in Detroit,
Uh-huh.
and I remember one time I tried to book a rock and roll act at this amphitheater, which was mainly for like soul and hip hop acts. And the
Uh-huh.
way that the radio was set up is that a rock and roll act could not play a venue that's R&B.
Right.
Like, and it was all because of the radio. The radio stations ruled where artists was able to perform at.
Yeah, iHeart actually has their own set of venues that they call them iHeart venues, iHeart Productions or whatever. I forget the exact name. I'll think of it in a second. But they actually have a lot of these places where they have them go, and iHeart actually owns the venues that that they play at. A lot of people don't know that. They just named them, left them named the same. They didn't name them iHeart because that's the way for iHeart to make more money is to sell the branding and have someone buy the rights to put their name on the side of the building and basically be, like the Cowboy Stadium, AT&T Stadium, the way AT&T bought into it. Basically it's the same scenario.
Wow, so iHeartRadio is the owner of a lot of the stations. So when you sign a 360 deal, it's because of they can actually, if you don't sign that deal, they can actually make it so you don't get to perform at any of their
Oh
places.
yeah. Oh yeah. When Britney was going through this stuff, this was Clear Channel. This was what iHeart. But when Britney Spears was going through all her stuff and shaving her head and partying and doing whatever she was doing, uh, they wanted her to get her stuff together, and she had a new album that was out or was coming out or was working on it. I forget what the deal was, and they called her on the phone, Clear Channel, because my dad told me about it, and said, "You get your shit together and pull it together, or we're going to pull all your records off all our Clear Channel stations all across the country, 1,800 stations. Now they own more than that." But that was just the top 40 stations at the time, the format that she played, that her music was in, and they threatened to pull it off, and that's when she got her stuff together. I don't know if she got it together because of what they said, but I'm sure it had a lot to do with it. So
So
they could
the actual radio station called Britney Spears and said, "Get it together."
one of the Clear Channel people did, one of the Clear
What?
Channel executives, because
Wow.
they had her booked on a tour, and they saw what she was doing with cutting her hair, shaving her head, and all the stuff she was doing.
Was she
And
signed a 360 deal with Clear Channel?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know that.
I mean, can Clear Channel just call any artist and say, "You better get it together," or we just gonna, they like put like the mafia?
They've doing that a lot. They've done that a lot of times, and iHeart does it too. They've
What?
done that a bunch of times.
So, what do you think of the situation now with P Diddy? Now that he's been outed and kind of made to be
I think I'm surprised he had to try to go to another country. I don't know if they haven't taken his passport yet. I don't think. I haven't heard anything about it, but yeah, it's pretty. There's a lot of people that were going to them parties, and that's just really a shame. And I think he's guilty of sin, but and I think everybody else does too. But he's still doing what he's doing.
So you were in like a different part of like the actual industry. Did you go to some of the industry parties and things like
Oh
that?
yeah, we got to. Unlike the rest of my family, my mama was in radio. She's passed away, but my mom was in radio. My dad, of course, my brother and my sister and me, we were all in radio. So I was born into a family of radio, and they all liked the spotlight. Like my mother, she was a big model and for Ford and big model back in the day. And then my sister was also a model, and then my niece on my brother's side was also a model that took after my mother and had a very, real good bone structure, big breasted, real all natural, no plastic done or whatever. But they all like the spotlight, and I don't like the spotlight. I kind of like being behind the scenes, going down the road and hearing a commercial of mine or a promo, on one of the radio stations I did is how I get my satisfaction. Listening to it and turn it up and say, I could add a little more reverb to that. I'm gonna go back tomorrow and add some more reverb, or I need to take this line out or redo this line or that. That's the satisfaction I get. So I was behind the scenes as a voice, but I went to all the Clear Channel parties and all the stuff with them and was backstage and VIP, and it was a total excessive lifestyles, totally seductive lifestyle. I got to say that because I was on 28 radio stations across the country, in addition to what I was doing in Miami and the other markets that I worked in. You know, that money that I got paid to do those other markets, that was in addition to what I got paid to do my base salary in Miami. My salary in Miami was to produce all the branding and imaging for that radio format and the other markets that I worked in. So it's very lucrative for me.
So I mean, did you get like the VIP treatment everywhere you went? Like, you know, as far as like parties and stuff?
Oh yeah, it was South Beach was incredible. Those were the big clubs back then, and me and you've had this discussion about this. We're Level, Crowbar, and you had actually brought up Crowbar.
Yeah, Crowbar, Club Inn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Level.
I actually DJed. I actually threw a few parties down in South Beach
Yeah,
for the Winter Music Conference.
yeah. You sent me some footage of, I think I forget who it was, but they were on stage, and that was when they were having it on the beach still at Ultra.
Yeah, Ultra
Yeah.
Festival.
Music
So
Festival.
it was
Yeah.
clear. Were you around when during that time?
Oh yeah, we did Ultra. They advertised on 3 radio stations when they come to town because it's electronic dance music, and it was
Mhm.
before we put our dance music station on the air, which we played all DM, and it didn't go well, but it was real good at first, and it's high ratings at first, but then it kind of sizzled out. But the 3 stations that they advertised on were Y100, which I worked for the company that owned Y100, Zeta, my station, the alternative rock station, and across town, which we did not own, that was Power 96. And Ultra would run on them, those 3 formats to to promote Ultra Music Festival. And one of the sales managers goes, yeah, I'm going to go get that money. Because I was in tight with everybody and I knew all the support staff and stuff. I was like, what do you mean go get that money? He goes, I'm going to get the entire budget. And I was like, their entire radio budget? And what are they going to do about Y100 and Power 96? Well, I'm going to get all of it. We're going to get the entire radio budget. And he went in there and convinced him. He got all the budget. He pulled all the money from Y100, even though it was we own that station, but he got all of Power 96's money and everything. And they advertised all on us. Didn't even advertise on the other 2 stations.
Wow.
So I was involved to help promote that when it would come to town also.
Was it effective? I mean, did they lose out on anything by not?
No, it did good. In and out all weekend. I think they had 180,000. I think that if I remember that year, which was good. It's Ultra's come so much further. They do streaming now every year. They had 3 streams this past year, and close to almost 3.5 million people were watching. Because they do Ultras in all the markets now. Not in all the markets, but a lot of the other markets. Vegas and
Yeah. They went from a small beach rave
party.
to
Yeah.
wow. So when you talk about Payola, because I know in the hip hop scene, Payola is very, very well known as far as like, when you go into New York and stuff like that, where you pay the person to play your music. How prevalent was it also in the rock and roll scene of music?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that format because all the stations I worked at, the formats I worked in were either alternative rock like the Edge in Dallas, or top 40 like Y100 in Miami or KIIS FM in Dallas. So those are the only 2 formats that I worked in. But one thing I saw, and it went along in the 70s when my dad was program director. And he was program director of the station, the top 40 station. It was when disco was huge. It was right during that peak. And it went on back then, and that's how I actually learned about it. But basically, that's, when a label has a record that they want to, that they're trying to promote, of course, they all want them to go #1, and they want them to do well. They'll be like, yeah, I've got this so-and-so coming out from Megan Thee Stallion. But if you'll add that, and that means add it to their playlist and report it to Billboard, which is how that's the list that everyone goes off of. We'll go ahead and get you concert tickets for, say, and I hate to use this. Well, let me just use someone else. We'll get you concert tickets. We'll fly them to New York. We'll put them up at a hotel. We'll pay for the airfare. We'll get a meet and greets backstage, and you can do that as a whole nother separate trip. And we'll give you that. We'll pay for that. Just add this Megan Thee Stallion record to your playlist, and they add it, and they get other things. There's also been scenarios where program directors added records and got new cars, got put on vacations, got this for their wife, got a facelift for their wife.
Got a facelift for their wife.
Yeah. The record label, yeah. Now I don't know if it's that deep anymore, but it was like that when I was working.
Wow. So they really that record must have went big.
Exactly.
For a facelift for the wife. Come on now.
Exactly.
So the rock and roll scene, I would say it's well, like I don't know, it has a similarities to hip hop. Hip hop seems to like have taken over more and more as time has gone on. Is rock seems to be like the largest thing. You talked about how country took over, how disco started off at disco and then country began to take over.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad was actually, like I said, working at a top 40 station, and the station that they wanted him to go to work for, the Hicks brothers, who started Clear Channel, their first radio station. My dad made him a lot of money. We were trying to get him to go over to the country station. And my dad was at first was like, man, you're crazy. This disco stuff's breaking out. That's not going to last forever, but I'd be crazy. They kept telling him country was going to be the next best thing. And the joke was on us because we didn't know. But yeah, they were right. They foresaw the future. And about that time that my daddy got over there, about a year later, Urban Cowboy gets released.
What?
Huge movie for John Travolta. And it was a big Paramount picture. And then Dallas, the series hits. And then all this oil is popping up all over Dallas, and country's just, the music format got really big, and they were right about it, and it did. And my dad did very well with that. And now the station's changed to a talk format. You know, they're talk radio now. They don't play any music. He plays bumpers under his when he comes in the show, and he'll play music under his voice or whatever. But then they pull the music out when he's live, and they're not playing music. But yeah, they kind of saw the future of country being real big, and like I said, the joke was on us because it did get big. It was huge.
So did why do you think disco died?
Uh, it's really a shame because I'm a big EDM fan. I love electronic dance music. I think disco died just because the labels and corporate America tried to make it too commercial. I mean, everyone and their mother was doing a disco record. What's her name? Thurman. The Disco Duck album, that record that came out from Rick Dees. It just got too commercial, and they were trying to package it and sell it, and I think it got too big too fast with stuff like that in corporate America. They should have just left it and left the people that were doing it at the time continue to record it and produce it. But yeah, I think that's what hurt it, is just corporate America got involved and kind of just tried to make too much of a moneymaker out of it. And I realized it was a moneymaker. And it did well, it did very well. Disco was huge. A lot of people got stuck in that category. Miami and South Florida. The Bee Gees are from Miami, and of course they got commissioned to do that soundtrack. His little brother Andy Gibb, who's the first one to pass away in '88. I've always been an Andy Gibb fan. I can't think I've always kind of been a closet Andy Gibb fan. Not that I was ashamed of it or anything, but I've always kind of done it, not really told a lot of people about it. I remember listening to him when he first came out. I was 7 years old when he first came out. And I've always been a big fan, but to make a long story short, they produced the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, and they got really typecast into a disco band, and it got to a point where we were going to have a Bee Gees free weekend, and they did the Disco Sucks thing in Chicago and blew up all the records, and they got put into that category, and luckily they got themselves out of it in time, because they started writing records for other people, Barbra Streisand and what's her name, Celine Dion, and Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton, and they started writing records for other people, and that's what got them out of that rut that they were in, and they were able to release some more music and get be classified other than just a disco band.
It seems like disco kind of turned more into house music, EDM music.
Exactly.
Kind of began to take over the disco sound.
It
now,
did.
when we get into Payola, I believe that part of the reasons why EDM, or not EDM, but like electronic music, techno, house music, didn't take off over in America was because of the Payola aspect of things. People were not able to like pay the radio stations to get on the programs, and it's just in the last 10 years that you really are hearing radio stations really playing techno music and house music and
right,
what they call now EDM.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
I just don't think there was too many radio stations to promote it, and that for them that's a lucky thing I way. But I think the reason it worked is, or whatever that reason that happened was, is that that just wasn't being played a lot. I mean, we put a station on
Was it
in
because
Miami.
of money? Was it because of that they weren't getting paid to play it, like because of the other records?
Probably so. I think that would probably have a good bit to do with it.
Would you think that the majority of the records that come out on radio are pay to play?
I'd say most of them, yeah.
Well, what percentage you would say?
Probably 55%.
55%. And what makes them otherwise decide like to play a certain record?
Well, of course, it has to fit the format. It's got to be an artist that's within that format. That they can't play a country song on can't play a country like in Dallas. You couldn't play a country song on KIIS FM, which
No,
is like
I would say more like so. Say I have a rock station. I'm a rock group, right? Is it certain like record labels that are just kind of grandfathered in? Whatever they bring to the radio station, you guys are going to automatically play it, or is it more like someone listens to the record? Because I think that's a big misconception. People think that, I'm gonna send you my record, and someone's gonna listen to it. It's gonna end up on the radio.
Right. It doesn't happen that way, and usually they got to send the submissions back to whoever sent it. They're going to tell you to get with the label. It's like when you try to get with one of these talent agencies, and you send them a demo or whatever. They send it right back to you, and they tell you, no, get you a corporate attorney, a music attorney, and get you a label or do whatever. Get representation.
So if a person wants to get their music on the radio, what would be the proper way to do it?
Know someone at the radio station.
Again, it gets back into like
Payola.
It's all about who you know, right? So you gotta know somebody.
Yes, ma'am.
And now they have these things called program directors that control like what music is played and how it's being played and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's harder to slip that music by, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
For sure.
So that's why I wanted to do a show on Payola, because I wanted to make sure that people understood that getting your record on the radio, getting your record on these platforms, we were fooled, you guys, the whole time. We whenever they showed like the Motown or whatever, they show the person bringing the music down to the station, and then one day their record being played while they're in the car and they're all happy. But it's like, since the longest time, it has been about a relationship that you have to have with someone just to get that, and it's always been like that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Do you think that even in the past, like it was even like kind of like not the mafia, but like almost like what was it called? Organized, you know what I'm saying?
Organized crime.
Yeah, like that it was almost like ran kind of in that way.
That thought crossed my mind, and I had the conversations with my father about it, and I really don't, now that I know all the behind the scenes things and the stuff that I know and the ownership and how it's worked, and but it basically is the same thing. It's you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and then that it's even going on with iHeart today.
So do you have how much control do these stations really have over the music?
They have a good amount of control. The program director is usually who is in charge of adding the records and seeing what's get played and what programs they're going to do and who's going to work this shift. They run the programming side of the radio station. Then the support staff, we call them the skeleton, is like your sales staff, your general manager, your sales manager, stuff like that. There's two sides to the radio station. So yeah, but the program director for that radio station really does control a lot of what's played, but they have regional program directors that it's over that program director and tells them, well, you need to play this or that, and we're going out for ads this week on this. And
so why do you think that there's specific artists? Like, let's get into it. Like, okay, so now you have artists like Sexy Red. And I know that you mainly focused on the rock and roll aspect of things, but it seems like radio stations will play a certain song over and over again. Yeah. It is a program. It's programming the people, right? They have control over people's thoughts and their mind.
And that's the label getting involved in that too, because when they add a record, sometimes the label will be, okay, I need 100 spins this week in a day or 2 days. I need 100 spins in 2 days. That's how many times it's played in 2 days. And it gets played more than that. But a lot of times the labels will stipulate, mandate that, with them doing what they're doing, and providing them with the promotional money or their wife to get a facelift or whatever, that they got to give them so many spins a week and report it to Billboard, because
So
that's
whenever, if you guys ever wondered why you keep hearing the same song over and over again, it's not because they like the song.
because the label wants it that way.
Right. The label is demanding the radio station to play this song 15 million times. So it's not even the program director that's programming the people. The label itself has
Yeah.
control over the station enough to demand something to be played 100 times a day.
Yep, they're not involved with that. That involved with that aspect.
Wow. So okay. So I always thought the station. I would be mad at the station. Like, I don't want to listen to that station. They keep playing that same song. There. I mean, I swear to goodness, this one time I heard the song. I think they almost played the song back to back. I was like, did they got finished playing this song?
Yeah, they're
P1s. Turn one station off, turn to another station, and
they're doing the same thing.
So I don't know whether the radios that they are in cahoots with each other. Like they got the same software. That's just like, okay, you're gonna play it first, and we're gonna play it next. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they use the software they use. It's it's a software scheduling program. It's called Selector, and all the stations use it. Everyone uses it.
Are they connected in some kind of way where it knows? Like,
no, it's owned by a totally different company, not even connected to iHeart. But that's what.
No, I'm saying is when you're on this Selector, does it somehow like connect all the other radio stations? Is it like on one? Because it's just amazing to me that you could turn from one station, hear a song, turn to another station, hear that same song. So I'm like, is it on like a cloud, or is it like, you know what I'm saying, where maybe it's like
it's
doing
not connected to anything else. It's just that's the way that's the music scheduling software, the program that they use.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much.
Right. So so now you have like artists like Sexy Red that's out right now, who's pretty much talking about her booty hole and also the crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have Luke, what's his name? Luke Skyrock, Luke from 2 Live Crew.
Oh yeah.
He's from your hometown.
Yeah.
And he just recently said that any female artist that has come out, any female rapper, they owe him because he was the one who normalized this kind of like, twerking and booty shaking and all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? What do you think about this new wave of music that's kind of vulgar? Remember they couldn't curse at one point on the radio?
Oh yeah. And they would have to bleep it out, and they would manually do an edit at the radio station and make a special mix that they did where they would have to cut stuff out. But now the labels send stuff over uncensored, where all the cuss words are cut out of it.
Right. So what is the craziest thing that happened to you on radio, like in the radio that you've seen being involved in radio?
I'm trying to think. You think of those iconic moments where you were when certain things happened.
Well, you're dealing with rock and roll, and I know that rock and roll people have a rock and roll type of lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you're interviewing them at your radio station, you probably see some wild stuff behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, you see all kinds of stuff. When we were Fred Durst was in town. He didn't want to do no radio interviews. Well, somehow our AM Super Talk radio station was a talk format, like the format my daddy's in. Found out that he was going to be in town, and they had a bunch of strippers and stuff, and they told him they'd have the strippers up there when he come on and do an interview. So he agreed to come on and do the interview. And we were a station that was playing his music. That talk station wasn't playing his music. So he came on and did an interview with them. And somehow we got hooked up to go backstage, not backstage, but to go hang out with him. And we were going down the Bayside, down the Intercoastal Canal, where a lot of the real nice little cabins and stuff were at, in addition to being on the beach and all over South Florida. And we were on a houseboat thing, and we were going through the canal, and it's all these real nice cabins and stuff. And they decided they were going to moon everybody. And Fred Durst is crazy. He'll do anything, from Limp Bizkit. And they talked about it, and I didn't think they were going to do it. So I went up and I had been drinking a little bit, a lot actually, and other things. But and we all mooned him, and you couldn't believe it. And it made the papers. It was on Channel 7, the Fox affiliate there, the big news station. It was all over. the radio station and the stations and stuff. And they had someone filmed it, and they somehow the TV station got the cameras or got the film and got the footage that someone turned
Wow.
into them. There's been a lot more crazy stuff that's happened to that. That's one of the crazy things that happened.
Right. I know you probably
Uh,
can't talk about some of it. It's right
some
behind
of it, yeah. And I've had a lot of dreams come true through radio. You know, Oliver Stone's one of my real good, uh, not good friends, but he's one of my favorite producer, director, writers. And at that time, they were shooting Any Given Sunday at the Orange Bowl in Miami, and it was an all-star cast. It was, you know, Al Pacino, Cameron Diaz, Jamie Foxx, just the list goes on. Anne Margaret was in it. She had like a short part in it, and it was about football and how football really works. And a friend of mine came down. He was upstairs in one of the studios. He came down. I was producing and stuff, and he looked at me, and I just knew something was up about that movie, and because we had been talking about it previously. We went outside and had a cigarette right before I came back in. It'd been about 30 minutes, and he came back in, and we were talking about, God, if we could go see him shoot that movie, I could meet Oliver Stone. And I wanted to meet Cameron Diaz so bad because I was in love with her. But we he's like, the radio station, or they just called the radio station for some extras, and they need some extras. And we went out to the Orange Bowl, and we're walking through the huddle. That's where the Dolphins used to play at. And we're walking through the huddle, and we see like 7 cameras on the field, and they're shooting this and Jamie Foxx and this, because it was a really good movie, and they used a lot of cameras. And it was really good the way they shot it. But Oliver Stone's walking around with this like safari looking hat, a big folder, and, well, Al, what'd you think of that shot? He's talking to Al Pacino. Al was like, it's good, babe. He's say babe and everything. And we met him. They couldn't have been more nicer. Went out and had drinks with them that night. Stayed out till like 3 in the morning. Was late coming into work the next day. But that was one of my big dreams that came true. Uh, was doing that. And another thing, I wasn't working at a radio station, but I'm a big Cristiano Ronaldo fan, and my brother knew this and had connections to get me stuff, autographed, stuff, and he'd do it through the labels. Well, he didn't have any connections. Obviously, Cristiano Ronaldo was a soccer player. Doesn't work in radio. So what he did is he went to one of the labels and traded him off something to get me an autographed jersey from Cristiano Ronaldo it's worth 5K. So that was another thing of mine that I got. Another big thing that I got. I got a $300 frame from Amazon to put it in that locks on the side, and there was a lot of things that I got to get off. But those are probably.
So do you think that some of these things were kind of given to you because you're the son of the owner of the radio station?
No, not really. I mean, there's some stuff that my brothers got from me and my dad's got for me, but they've really not shown me any special treatment. My dad's he's tough love, and he believes in, doesn't believe in spoiled kids, and he grew up poor, they struggled, and he didn't have anything when he was little, and he figures that, in all parts of your life that you need to always be humble and be grounded and be, so it's kind of like that, I guess.
So it wasn't like you had a silver spoon in your mouth.
No.
No.
Latter part when we started to get older, it was, but in the early days, yeah, we were taught to be humble and be grounded and work for what we had. But they weren't strict in like pile drivers and slave drivers. My mom she was the queen of the neighborhood. When the kids had trouble at school, they'd all call my mom. She'd go get them, talk to the principal, not tell the parents that she was doing it for. We'd have sleepovers. She'd have tents in the backyard, like 20 tents we had a huge house when we were growing up, and had tents in the backyard, and come and bring snacks to everybody and check on them and do little bed checks.
So do you think that the a 360 deal is do you think the 360 deal is fair?
I think it's fair.
Yeah.
No. Not really.
When you own the radio station, you own all the venues. You own. I mean, I'm sure they probably own some of these websites out here too, streaming service, Spotify and things like that.
Right.
I mean, it's almost like it kind of, because I mean, do artists even really get paid anything anymore? Because I mean, if you think about the streams now, you don't.
Yeah, I don't know how they get paid out of streams. I don't know how they get paid out of streams because there's a good friend of mine that's in an electronic dance music band called the Bassjackers, and he's got a partner, and the partner stays at home and produces the record, and Marlon goes out on the road, And if you would have asked me 10, 15, 20 years ago, would these DJs be making 40 and 50 a show and playing
Yeah.
sold out stadiums and they would get them to fly them in private jets? I would have said you're crazy. There ain't no way kids are going to pay that. And look at it now. These music festivals and these DJs playing these big stadiums.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But they're not making no money off of their music they putting out.
No.
Streaming, I remember when what's it called?
Napster
came out?
Yeah.
When that came out, it almost made it so that people expected music for free. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, the only place you used to be able to get music for free before was on the radio stations.
Right.
So now it's like now you can stream music. So how much of the streaming does like iHeart own? Do they own like Spotify and all these other
No, they don't own Spotify. As far as the percentage of streaming, I really don't know because that's a good question, and I want to find out now. But I don't know exactly if they even get paid for streaming, if the labels do pay for streaming or how that works.
They do.
They do.
Yeah, but the artists don't get paid for the streaming. It's
Right.
only like 0.001%, one
Right.
penny out on each stream. So if I play a song, I'm like getting less than a penny.
Right. I know when I go download songs from my friend, he sends links and sends them to me, and I don't have to go on the service and download them. But anytime I go, they're like, our new record, blah blah blah. It's dropping this. They do a lot of remixes, and they do some big time shit. I mean, they do a lot of stuff. And there's one of their big records this year. It's probably their biggest record they've had this year. You could just go right on SoundCloud and get it for free.
Right. So
I don't see how they're making money. I mean, I know they're making money by doing appearances.
By performing. That's why that's why they started the 360 deal.
Yeah.
So now it gets rid of the record label, and it makes the actual radio station become like the owner of the artists.
Right.
Well, they'll just create like a separate entity that makes it into like a managing aspect for that artist.
Right.
I think I had a question. I forget what it was.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, I was on a roll with this.
I'm ADHD, but a lot of creative people have it in my business, in my side of the business.
Yeah. Do you think radio is dead now?
I think in some senses it is. It's so corporate now. Even when Clear Channel owned it, it wasn't that corporate like it is now. It's beyond. I've not gone back into work at a radio station now because of iHeart, because I don't like the way they monopolize. And they're real cheap. They don't pay hardly anything. When I got hired in Miami, Genesis, I would have gone there for 60, 70 a year. Man, I was making 180 a year.
Oh, man.
I was already on cloud nine. And then after they did the interview and they flew me in and we're working on the contract, they didn't tell me this, but I got back in when I flew back in and moved there. Well, we only want you to work 4 hours a day. I'm like, you're kidding me. Well, no, we're building our new studios in Miramar, which is Broward County. And that's when they were going to have us all in one building because we were broken up. 5 of the stations, we had 7 stations. 2 of the stations were in North Miami, or 5 of the stations were in North Miami Beach, and 2 of the stations were in Fort Lauderdale. And they only had studios that were available, a certain amount of studios to go around. So I only had to work 4 hours a day. The problem was it was 6 to 10 a.m. and I'd usually be up still from the night before.
Wait, you only have to work like 3 hours and then make $180,000 a year?
Working 4 hours a day. But the understanding is when we got to the new building, I'd have to work 8-hour days and probably stay over late.
Wow.
If I needed to get stuff done.
So radio people make a lot of money.
Yep. When I was working for Clear Channel,
a small amount of time.
Yep.
4 hours and $100,000 a year. Wow.
Right, but the deal is that when we got in the new building, I was working an 8-hour day. The only reason I was getting the 4 hours a day was because we didn't have enough studios to go around, and we only had a certain amount of studios for a certain radio station at that time. And
right, I'm saying, like, what about the people that I'm sure the people that's actually doing on the radio, like doing the shows, they only probably got to come in for that time and then leave out, like, and then.
Yeah, and they do their production when they get off the air. If they got to do a tag, what we call a tag on a commercial, and this so and joined me at Iguana Cantina, Las Olas, blah 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 blah. They do their little production, and they're gone. They're out of there.
And making about $200,000 to $300,000 a year.
Oh yeah, the on-air people is where the money's at. That's the talent,
So initially we were really discussing this whole payola aspect of things. And like now that radio is kind of dying out,
Mhm.
the new thing is the 360, right? What do
Yeah.
you think the step is next, like for radio? Like, what do you think the next, or what do you think that they? Because AI is now the new frontier, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I really haven't heard much about how AI is going to interact with radio or how that's going to work. But to answer your question, I really don't know at this point. I wait to see AI and we wait to see how it goes with that. I know that I'm a big Apple person. I think I told you this before. AI, Apple's calling it Apple Intelligence. They're not calling it what everyone else is calling it. That's their name for it. But when they get that, if you have a 15 Pro, if you have an iPhone 15 or newer, when they get the iOS software updates, the 18s that everyone's waiting on, and they're probably going to do that in September when they release the iPhone 16s. Uh, I've got a 15 Pro, but what you do is whenever you're talking in a Siri, the entire circumference of the outer part of your cell phone is going to light up and change colors when you're talking. Now, when you're through, stop talking. When you're through and you stop talking, it's going to stop. That's just one of the features. There's going to be a lot of features where you're going to be able to uh,
oh,
text an Android and
really? That's going to be what they're going to add to the Apple to make it special? Like, are you
no, they're
serious?
going to do other things, but that was just one of the things that they were going to add. And they're talking about how Siri's going to learn your movements and your gestures, and she's going to be more tailored towards what you do and what you type, and learning to pick up on what you type and stuff like that. So I guess it's going to move into other kind of ways about that, of the AI.
I'm sorry, my people in the audience are confused what we're talking about. So we were talking about, okay, my guest here is named Voice Kid. He used to be a well-known voiceover person for the radio stations, and his father owns iHeart radio station. So basically, we were talking about how Clear Channel, how iHeart bought Clear Channel and bought all the different radio stations. We talked about Payola, the fact that the misconception is that people can walk their music into the station and give it to somebody and it get played. No, that's not possible. So this whole time, the reason why you can't get your record played is because you have to have a record label, and that record label has to have a relationship with the radio station, and they are paying to play those records on that station. So
Mhm.
so all those records that you hear being played on the radio station are being paid by the record company to be played. There's no record that's actually just being played for free.
Right. Sorry.
You come up hippie. I wanted to because hippie, she's an artist, she's a singer,
Uh-huh.
and I used to be I used to be a producer and stuff like that. And I remember I've brought my records to, like, not knowing any better, right?
Uh-huh.
But they had like different programs where you could, like, they'll play like local people's music. But for the most part, you want to get your stuff on there during the main time. Your record is not going to go on there because you have to pay. What would you say? What would you think the average that you would have to pay to get your record played on a radio station?
I wouldn't even know what to say. My brother's worked in talent development, and there's a couple of bands that he's worked with. Clay Walker was a big one. He's a big country guy, and my brother got him. They gave him points on the record, and I'm sure you know what that means. That's where they give him a half a point or a point, and he gets a percentage of sales.
Wait, wait,
But
wait, wait. So your brother gets a point on the record?
well, on artists that he's worked with and developed and paid and put in the studio and
Oh,
really
okay.
developed and really catered and took on and kind of made it his deal. But they would, as far as paying to get it on the radio station, he had to get a music attorney for him eventually. But when we're shopping them out to the labels, these bands do what you call a showcase, and that's where they do a performance for the label, specifically for that label. Maybe only one label at a time, maybe only three labels at a time, whatever. And that was how he basically you know, got these people record deals, and then eventually got this stuff on the radio station. But he wouldn't. I don't think there was any payola, and as far as that aspect is concerned.
How do the records get picked to be on the radio station then?
Well, the program director, the selector, which is the music software that they use, really, you have your P1s and you got 10 P1s on selector. Those are your hottest top 10 records. Those are going to get played every 1 hour or every 2 hours. So you got 10
Wait,
of your hottest.
so it's a software that, okay, let me get this straight. So there's not a person that's saying play this song. It's software choosing what song.
No, they make the decision that they're going to play the song, and then they input it into Selector, and Selector schedules it. And they run the music logs, and it tells them when to play and what's coming up, and they can't cheat
Okay.
because it's digital. It's all on a computer screen now. What
Okay.
they're playing, they can't decide what they want to play like they used to. The music logs are printed by Selector, and that music log prints all of your promos and all of your music that you're playing. And promos would be just for the radio station as far as branding goes. That wouldn't be commercials. That's another scheduling software company that does that.
Wait, so nobody heard before. If it's not, you can't play the song.
You were breaking up. I barely heard what you're saying.
So
Repeat
if it's
that.
not on that software, you can't play that particular song.
No, it's not on there. That software is not going to tell you not to play it or whatever. It's going
So
to play.
how do you okay, so you can actually play new music. It's just that the program director has to put it into that selector.
Right, exactly.
Okay, all right.
And there's been situations. We had a homegrown show on Sunday night in Miami on Zeta, and we played all homegrown stuff. People that didn't have a label,
Right.
and it was on from I think 3 hours and on Sunday night. It was on Sunday night, and we played all stuff that the bands didn't. These bands didn't have record labels. And Creed is from Florida, not South Florida, more Central Florida. And they were a big rock band. They were the Christian band that crossed over into rock, and everybody was calling them Christian, but they really weren't.
Creed? You talking about Creed?
Yeah, Creed the band.
Yeah, I know about Creed. Yeah,
we were one of the
they
first
had that
radio
song.
stations.
Can you take me high?
Yeah.
I remember
Had a
that
bunch
song.
of hits.
Yep,
And,
I remember that particular song.
Yeah, they didn't have a label. They ended up being with Wind Up Records, but they didn't have a label. And Greg, my program director, knew him real well and had him on that Sunday show, and it got so popular that Greg decided to add it into rotation with the other music.
Okay, so there is a slight chance that your record, if you go on
there's a slight chance. Not all the radio stations do that, but there's that's what I said earlier. If you asked how to get the music on, I said somebody in radio. But
right, if you know somebody that actually works the station, they might be able to slide it in. But that also gets into favoritism and like a payola kind of thing at the end of the day. Because how do you get to know these people? You got to take them out to lunch, get to know them, hang out with them, all that stuff like that. Yeah. So it kind of still leads to that.
Right. Yep.
Hey, Hippie, how's it going?
Hey, Auntie. Hey, panel.
Hey. So this is Hippie. She's an artist from Louisiana. She's a well-known. She can sing really good and things like that. And the reason why I wanted to bring the radio aspect is because, like I said, there was so many misconceptions I know coming up about how radio worked.
Yeah.
That people think, they thought that the DJs were picking the music themselves, and no, there's a program director that actually is programming the music. There's not. You can't. The actual person that's talking on the station is not picking out the music.
No, not at all.
So whoever the DJ is or whatever that's talking, if you hear whoever, unless they're actual real DJ and doing a mix,
right?
But for the most part, they're not. There's a program director, and that a lot of times there is a certain level of payola that happens where the labels, you have to have a team behind you. And then that team has to work with the record. You said that because otherwise, if you bring your music to a radio station, they have to turn it away.
Yeah. Most of the times they do, unless it's really good and they'll put it on. But
how many records, how many tapes have you seen people give and just had to kind of throw in the trash?
I wasn't involved in the music side of it. I was more the promos and the voice of the station and stuff. But I've seen probably anywhere to 10 to 15 submissions from people that sent stuff into the radio station.
Mm-hmm. And then none of that gets put on there.
Some, if it's really good, it does. Like with the Creed stuff, like what I said with the Creed stuff. It does. You know, Greg added that into regular rotation with the other music. But yeah, there's a way to get it done. But like I said, you got to know somebody. All goes back to about relationships, you know.
Right. So, Hippie, you have any questions? Hippie.
I see your logo up there.
Yeah, she's there, but she's on mute.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear you now. I guess her phone must have messed up.
Yeah.
Well, I know she had a few questions, but I was trying to like keep things going until she came up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. All right, she coming back up? Okay. Well, I wanted to what other question I want to ask? Oh, you know what? So you knew about another close relationship that you had that was interesting is you actually knew the party monster guy.
Party Monster.
Mike Alig.
Oh no, I never knew him.
Oh, I thought you knew him. The guy.
No.
I thought that you actually had partied with him.
I was watching a biography on him the other day on Amazon.
He was from Florida and stuff like that.
Yeah. He died.
Did you know Kiyoki?
I met him.
Okay, okay, all right, because you were in around the same.
Oh yeah, that was my time, and I got to meet Avicii before he committed suicide.
Right. Okay. So yeah, he because that's the scene that you were in, that whole Kiyoki and
yeah,
Moby and all those guys like that.
Yeah.
Hey Hippie, welcome
yesterday.
Yeah, welcome to the panel, Hippie. What's up?
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be quick and stay out the way. From I don't know much about DJing or the radio,
Mm-hmm.
so I can't speak on Payola on that because I haven't had that experience. But you know my story. Auntie. You know I sold songs for a little bit of nothing, and they have millions of views. You know, so that's what I was typing in the comments when I was saying Payola is the reason that I just don't want to do music for money. I only do it for like my peace, and you know, like when money get involved, it's not fun no more.
No.
So I don't know the aspect of the radio, but I do know the music because like it's crazy like that. I got played so many times, and like I'm classically trained. I went to the same musical school that Yolanda Adams went to. Like and I rap and I read music and I play instruments. But I done got played so many times to where it's like, it's disturbing my peace. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, and it's almost like that they take that and they've taken the music itself and turned it into a whole industry, and it's so corrupt, and that's what we were talking about, that whole 360 deal aspect. And he was talking about how Clear Channel, or not Clear Channel, that iHeart not only owns the radio station, they own the actual places, the theaters, the nightclubs, everything. So if you want to, so when you have to almost sign a deal with them 360 to be able to even get in to perform at these places, to perform at a certain club, because it's a certain it's an iHeart club, and they probably can't even play certain music unless you're in their like system, you know what I'm saying? Because they have to, you got to deal with ASCAP and things like that. So it's so much to it, the music business, to this nowadays, and it's a whole
exactly, and that's why I think that most independent artists are doing a big one because they don't have to have somebody handling them and just doing what they want them to do. They could do it for fun. They could wake up in the middle of the night at 3 in the morning and say, I just want to go create. I just want to go sit in the studio and create.
The only thing is that if you want to go and perform your music, now you can't because the radio station owns the dang on venue. So you if you're not connected, you can't just walk up to the owner of that bar and say, hey, can we so and so perform here? You know what I'm saying? You have to be tied in.
That's true. But if you only doing it for peace and fun and
Yeah.
then that shouldn't matter. Like to me, it don't matter. Like
earlier he said that he was talking about how the owner of iHeart of Clear Channel contacted Britney Spears when she wasn't acting right. Like the actual radio stations will contact an artist and be like on some like, hey, you better get it together or we're gonna pull your music off the radio station.
Yeah.
So it gets pretty. You can't go.
And that's crazy because some people come in for the money, but I grew up singing and rapping and just that was my piece. So once the money got involved and I got played so many times, I was like, yeah, definitely Payola, and
Right.
I don't want to deal with it no more.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what today's show was about. I know some people are going to have to catch the replay because we're at an hour. I wasn't expecting this to really go over too long because the main thing is I wanted to like kind of discuss the true aspects, some of the misconceptions that people have when it comes to radio. No, you can't just really walk your music into the station and hope. I mean, you're just going to get thrown in the trash. You know what I'm saying? Unless you know somebody there, or unless you're dealing with a label that has a relationship, that it's going to be very difficult to get your music played. Maybe if they have a local thing where they're showcasing artists. So that's one misconception about the radio that we've had a long time. Also, that these radio stations are a monopoly. A lot of your nightclubs that you go to, amphitheaters, performance halls, are owned by the stations. Owned by the radio stations. That's another thing. And what else did we find out in this conversation? What was another thing?
The lifestyle of a promo voice.
Right. Right. So
Not anymore.
Right. He basically, he was at the just the person that did the promos, right? He's the one who just said on Z104.
Yeah.
And he was he was in movies and everything just from being, a lot of the access that he had and being in Hollywood movies and things like that. So that was pretty interesting. So we got to talk about a pretty interesting subject. I want to thank you for being on the show today. Is there any final things you want to say?
No, I just enjoyed it. I'm thank you for having me as a guest. I really feel privileged. Thank you again.
Oh, no, thank you so much. Hippie, anything you want to say?
I see her logo. I just don't hear her.
She probably talking and don't got her phone off mute.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, I was gonna give you. Okay. Well. All right. Well, we're gonna. Well, what we always say when the show ends, we always have a special thing that we say, and it's DJ take us out of here. So go ahead and say.
DJ Genesis, take us out of here.
All right.
Compromise your energy. Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. Alchemize your energy. My friend, let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. No matter the storm.